Okay.
I like this talk. Welcome back, Nazreen. We are watching BizTalk, and we are talking to Julie Matthew. She's running for a judge in Fort Bend County, which will probably deal with Julie. They'll deal with the juvenile cases, and will deal with smaller cases, and smaller time in there. So, in the break, we were talking about raising kids. Especially, you have a 12-year-old daughter, and of course, my daughter is now 20 years, almost 20 years old. And I can feel that the environment they're growing in. Before we talked about the jobs and the jobs they're going to be going, schools they're going to be going, what is going to be happening. But you're an attorney, and I'm sure in law school they teach you all about all kinds of laws, criminal laws, civil laws, and what are your rights are, what are your children rights, adult rights, what have you. So raising a child, especially young children that are now getting to be, how do I say, the puberty, whatever you call it, where they're just opening their eyes up to a brand new world, where they think that's the world. Because you and I, we know what the world was before, but for a 10 or 12 years old, doesn't know. That's the world, that's the starting point for them, something else. So they see this thing. As a parent, what do you or not you do, or should do, and maybe you can share that as a female, as a mother of three, with a lot of our viewers are also females and women and mothers, to what to look for, what not to look for, and how to, you're out there, you're in the mainstream, you're talking, you're listening. So you're more, have this kind of an, how do I say, the interaction. So do you want to talk about this, your child and how you want to raise it and how you...
I mean, it is, you always wonder, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong?
Right.
What can I do better? Did I approach that situation wrong? And I don't know if there's a right or wrong. It's what works in your family. And I definitely pray over her every day before she goes to school. I definitely pray over her. And I hope that I raised her, shown her love and affection and given those understanding that when she, wherever she goes, at however age she becomes, that she also knows what's expected of her. So I think from early on, you have to teach them kind of what you expect from them.
These kids, nowadays, with all the social things and iPhones and iPads and so many things are coming up, and they're getting hooked onto it, and so in back when you were growing up, or I was growing up even before that, we didn't have all these things. So we were just our mentors, everything was we were getting from our parents, or maybe just one or two neighbors. That's the end of it, or uncles and aunts, and whatever they say, that's God's word. But this is no longer the truth, So even if you say something to your child and you say, wait a second, let me double check that. No, Mama, you're wrong, right? Why did you say that to me, So becoming a parent also, you need to go back and become a student yourself, or be,
You're very right.
And go along with them.
Yes.
So especially in the girls, where, we still have our own values still, no matter what, we still do have values.
You're right.
We are not out there just go wherever we want to go, and in bikinis, and doesn't matter. But it still has, Chinese have values, Indians have values, other countries, Japanese have values, So South Asian also have values, Pakistan has values. So integrating those values into it and still maintaining. So what kind of comments can you make about raising those children, especially girls?
It's a very scary world.
Is it?
Because before, when we were growing up, none of this, what you say is not recorded online, available 10 years, 20 years down the line.
That's a scary part.
That's a scary part. I think kids need to be aware that if they do something stupid, then it can affect them when they're ready to apply for a job 10 years down the line. So to be careful.
And then someone may have recorded and said, what is this? What did you do? Right. Yeah, go ahead. Keep
So
talking.
it's, I think it, you know, just to make aware of the younger generation that, and they're still young and they're learning, but some of those things, it's a little scary. I mean, having a daughter and, you know, and kids
Yes,
are,
it's scary.
kids are definitely, I mean, I think schools have gotten better, you know, in
Okay.
regard to anti-bullying. I think when I was growing up, it was, oh God, called camel jockey and dot head and turban head and oh my.
So how did you deal with that? You just
It was
find,
hard.
no,
There are definitely days
really,
that
it was?
it was very hard. I think
Yeah.
growing up in Philadelphia, I think the school that I went to maybe had 3 Indians.
Oh,
In
really?
yeah, I think it was only 3
And
Indians
they
in my
didn't know
school.
where the aliens coming from, right?
And I think, you know, Homer Simpson, that show had just
Right.
come out, and there was Apu, and it was constantly that accent. It was bad,
Okay.
but I think it. You know, when I look back, I don't want my child to have to go through it, and I hope that they don't. But currently, our political situation, it makes me somewhat worried. But I hope that we're past that, and I hope that
So what do you
education.
mean by political situation? What situation are we talking about?
I mean, there's definitely, I think people, you know, somewhere along the lines, this whole political correctness has gotten bad. When I don't know when political correctness is bad, because you know it's about respecting people, and you know you don't have to go with every whim and fancy, but at the same time, you know when we address people, address with kindness, gentleness, you know how we want to be treated.
Right.
And I think a lot of people just, oh, well, I don't have to worry about how I say it. It's how I feel. And no,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not. It's definitely, you know, be considerate of others. And I think people forget it. And
So, so raising children, especially girls. I mean, boys sometimes seems to take care of themselves.
I don't have any boys.
No, but I'm saying because I'm asking you. So, you know, you're seeing it on a daily basis. You're a working mom, and you know, you come home and you do, you know, check school work, make sure what's happening, and you stay in connect. So, an environment is changing rapidly.
Yes.
Technology is changing on a daily basis. Apps are coming in, you don't even know about it.
You're
You know,
right.
the speed of that coming in into the phones, and the new things are always coming up. I'm not sure how to not stop it, but how to monitor it. There is just things going crazy in terms of 12 years, 13 years, 14-year-olds, you know, you know, getting involved in things that nobody, even in this country, 20 years ago, they could not think about it. You know, drugs is just getting involved, and so negative part is also, but at the same time, there's a positive side to it, whereas they are, you know, also learning new skills, they're learning new, and they're being aware, you know, back then you just have one newspaper, that's about it. It's good and bad at the same time. Uh, but keeping an eye, is that a good thing to keep an eye and you know,
I definitely think
invade
so.
privacy of of your children?
I believe in definitely keeping an eye. But at the same time, you should trust your child as well. But it's hard because may not be, you know, there are ways to, you know, people, you know, 60-year-old men acting as 16-year-old on chat line or chat, you know.
All
So,
these,
so
social
those
platforms.
things, you know, you definitely have to protect because they can be, you know, ways to get in. You want to protect your child, and that's the primary responsibility of any parent.
Yeah.
And so I think there's
So proper educating your child as to what to be look for, what to be aware of, what's the right thing to do, and again allowing them to do it. What is the right thing?
I mean, and sometimes, you know, you can mess up completely in the sense of even if you're the most perfect parent, you know, you can't control what happens. Sometimes I've seen situations where, you know, they're perfect parents in some sense, but the child turned out to be, I mean,
not that
yeah.
perfect, yeah.
So is whatever we can control in our power, in our capacity to do the best of it every day.
So, you know, since we are running a little bit short of time, what do you guide? Two things I want to ask you. In terms of, you know, again, we talk about children and, you know, they're going to school and they'll eventually be going to taking on these different professions, one being a lawyer, one being a doctor, one being, you know, whatever the professions we are. So do you see being practicing attorney right now? Do you see that any of this? I know like technology is changing, you know, like crazy. What is here today is gone tomorrow. You know, so the medical practice is, you know, technology gotten into medical practice. Technology got into construction, architecture, you know, education for that matter, and technology is getting into law. So is the future, like which we were talking during the break, is the future of law still bright for the kids to get in? You think, or maybe they shouldn't? You know.
I mean, I believe it's somewhat saturated. For example, the bar exam results, about 2,000 graduates passed the bar in Texas. And
is that good, bad, or what?
I mean,
what does that mean?
If you're in the top of the class, if you're in law review, if you have
So
done extremely
2,000
well.
more lawyers that came in
Yes.
Texas, or given a license to practice.
Yes.
In a sense.
Yes.
How many of them retired? So I mean, you look at the balances. So why?
I
why
don't
there's
believe
so,
2,000 attorneys are retiring.
so why so many are coming in? Is there a need for it?
I'm not sure if there's a particular need for it. I think it's, you know, it may be an attractive profession to go into,
Okay.
but I'm not sure if the need is necessarily there. And I'm not sure if how much technology is going to replace attorneys. I mean, certain process where in the discovery process where you have to look through a vast amount of documents, so those can be computerized now. So that need for attorneys in those areas.
What is e-discovery?
E-discovery is taken over.
What is e-discovery?
So if there's a case, for example, that well, let's say there's a large oil spill in the in the Atlantic, and you know.
Okay, so I know, but
yes.
that's what.
So if you know the documents concerning it has, you know, were they aware of, you know, things, so somebody had to look through and find it. Well, you can feed that document through.
Yeah, I know.
And then, you know, have the keywords be searched and found.
Well, there's just too many things to talk about it. Unfortunately, our show time is coming to an end. You know, next time around, you know, we'll maybe get together again and maybe we'll talk a little bit more in detail.
Inshallah.
तो नाज़रीन, हमारा शो का टाइम अब ख़त्म हुआ चाहता है, तो आपका हमारे साथ ज्वाइन होने का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. नेक्स्ट वीक हम फिर हाजिर होंगे. हमें आप इस वक्त इजाज़त दीजिए. अल्लाह हाफ़िज़.